Welcome to Moonbase 2.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Moonbase 2 podcast. It's another interview. There's a lot of them coming out at the moment. You think I had nothing to do with my time and was trying to fill it up and not waste away in front of a computer, but that would be madness. But yeah, today we've got someone I have been wanting to talk to for a long time. Let's see if I can just get the numbers right. He has contributed to 13 issues of RID, 16 issues of Optimus Prime and Lost Light, 23 issues of Transformers when it changed from RID, 42 issues of Mord Meets the Eye, last couple of issues of Rage of the Dinobots, all of Beast Hunters, Windblade, Till All Are One, Revolutionaries. I don't think he sleeps, to be completely honest. Quite possibly the most prolific contributor to Transformers comics in terms of what goes on the page I can think of. And yeah, it is Tom B. Long, or as we used to call him here, Tom B. Long.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
How are you, Tom? How's your day going?
Doing great, thanks.
Good.
And yours?
Not too bad. I've embarrassed myself in front of a relative stranger who I've known by name for ages, and, you know, I always think that's a good start to things. But, so yeah, Tom, we're just, like, who is Tom B. Long, and what does he do before we get into anything? For the people who clearly have not been reading the credits page, the fools.
Right on. Let's see. Who am I? I am just a nerd who got lucky early on and has been working in comics for over 20 years now. And since I can only draw mediocre, I found that lettering comics is something that has to be done. So I fell into that groove, and I've been doing it for a long time now. So I've been lucky enough that at IDW they've pretty much stuck me on all the Transformer books, which has been a blast.
So yeah, you said you started about 20 years ago. What led you into comics? What was sort of the kickstart in your head? Like, this is the direction I want to go.
Oh, I've been a fan of comics since I was 5. Spider-Man was the man. So after high school, it was, okay, what do I want to do? Get a boring job in engineering or something? Or maybe I'll try this graphic design gig thing and see what I can do there. So I started that right after college. I was working for a printer that was doing remember the Chromium trading cards of the 90s?
Oh, yeah.
Chromium covers? Yeah, so that was Chromium Graphics. That's where I got my start. I was working there and learned all pre-press production and was able to, from there, move over to, I answered a job in the newspaper classifieds when that's how you used to find jobs.
No, I remember that. Circling everything in red.
Yep. I found a weekend job working at Wildstorm Productions down in La Jolla, California, managing handling their backroom pre-press for all the, Gen 13, Wildcats, all that good stuff. And transitioned to that as my full-time job, left Chromium Graphics, and while I was there, I learned desktop publishing and got my start lettering, and then been doing it ever since.
Yeah. So, what got you into lettering? Because I don't know, I've never had a chance to talk to someone who does it professionally. So I'm very curious what draws you to it.
Well, I've always been a fan of calligraphy. Like, some of my favorite masterpiece art is the illuminated manuscripts. Have you ever seen those? They're just, hand drawn with, imagery surrounding. It's just, that's the origins of graphic design. So I just like typography in general. So just by, I guess, osmosis of working in the pre-press at the comic book publisher, I decided, I want to learn that. I want to see how to do that because it's fun. And unfortunately, I started at a time when there was a big transition from hand lettering to digital. And since I already had the computer skills backing me up, it was a matter of, okay, well, let's study guys who know what they're doing, Comic Craft and Todd Klein, those guys, and study their techniques, and then just learn how to do it on the computer and go from there.
So what walk us through sort of the lettering process?
Oh, sure. Well, the convention now is editors get in the script, and usually pencils or inks from the creator, and they will what they're called balloon guides, where they'll just mark up where the balloons go roughly on a page. And that's mainly the reason why it's called a guide, is because it's mainly just tell us like who's speaking, because with so many titles, so many characters, it's hard to remember, like, oh, what does this guy look like, or who's this character, especially if it's a new book to someone who's lettering. So it guides us through the general flow of like where these balloons are placed. Then you just copy and paste from that script into an Illustrator file with a template balloon backing you up, and start filling in the blanks. Just go through the page and try and meet the flow. The trick to it is that you have to stick to the convention, which is you read everything right to left, top to bottom in American comics, and you want them to flow panel to panel, so you don't skip around too much. And then the next step is you want to make it look good, so you got to make sure not to step on character art or important aspects of the drawing that tell part of the story. And then the next part is you get to add a little flair. I don't know if you see, sometimes in my lettering I like to make words burst out of balloons. Yeah. That's the fun stuff for me. I like doing that. Sound effects especially, they're a blast.
Yeah, that's how we kind of got to realize there was something special going on back when we were doing the Rage of the Dinobots review, and just like, the sound effects of this book are nuts.
Yeah.
I think there was a collecting the onomatopoeia of Tom B. Long at one point. That was a running game. I think we got up to like 20. But so that's really interesting to me. Just I was reading a comic during the week. It was a Batman. I got back into Batman when he ended up actually going what, I'm going to settle down, because it was not another Isn't Batman Brilliant story. But I was having real trouble with the page because I couldn't follow the bubbles. And it took me a minute to realize I should have been following the art and then registering the bubbles after to figure out the direction it was going. And I find with a really well done book, the placing of the speech bubbles and everything else, it's very you do it without realizing you're following them. And
yes, that's the goal.
Not to blow smoke up here or anything, but reading your work, it's very easy to track it all. I don't think thanks. I can think of a time when I've just gone, hang on, what? Who's speaking now?
Right.
It's all subconscious. But what is the trick to that? Because you were saying you have to not trip over the characters or anything like that. But like you're saying, that Batman book, clearly the letterer got kind of lost halfway through themselves. It felt like that, So I mean, how do you avoid those pitfalls?
There is a sort of mental game you play when you're lettering a page so that the person reads everything clearly, and that's to start off with, you have to imagine that there's a line drawn right through the center of each balloon as you go through a page that doesn't cross over itself. So if you start from the first balloon and end in the last balloon, you got to imagine there's a road, a map. It just goes through each balloon right through the center, and it may twist and turn, but it should never cross over itself. So you're not having to go back and forth. If you can create that little imaginary line through the page, then chances are you're going to read the flow without even realizing that you didn't, have to go back to figure out what was said. That's pretty much it.
One of those things that seems so straightforward, you can believe everyone's screwing it up. Dear. So, how did you get involved with IDW? Because when I was doing some reading, you started off in Wildstorm, yeah?
Yes.
And then was that, how long were you at Wildstorm, and what led you to sort of move on from there?
Oh yeah, so I was at Wildstorm for 6 years, and then I think it was my 30th birthday, I realized, I think I want to, step out, I think I had my early midlife crisis where I wanted to be a freelancer. So I was like, I'm gonna go do my own thing for a while. So I left, I went and I freelanced for 3 years, and IDW started up just before I left Wildstorm, and IDW was started by 4 former Wildstorm employees. So the 4 of them were, doing their own creative services thing, and then they started publishing their own comics. And just by, having worked with them, and I was close by, and, luck of the draw that, they needed some help as they were growing. So that's how I ended up at IDW.
Yeah. And who put you on Transformers? Was it Chris Ryle or?
It was Robbie Robbins. Yeah, he's the senior executive graphic artist there, one of the founding members. So he was the one who's like, here, you take this. I'm like, all right. That's how it happens.
And now no one else can work on them.
Occasionally.
Yeah, we had I think it was Visionaries, where everyone was reading through it and just like, hang on. Where's Tom?
Yeah, yeah. Every now and then, I get a little bit overwhelmed by the sheer volume of books coming at me for Transformers. So a few other people pick up ones, like because the way IDW breaks up, we try and keep the same creative team on each book. That includes editors. So if you look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Sean Lee letters that one almost exclusively. Now, My Little Pony, that goes to Neil Uitake.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. Occasionally, if somebody's on vacation, we'll pick up one, or if we get too many books in, it'll move over. That's kind of how it happened. Yeah.
So what level of collaboration do you find with the other creators in the books, the writers or the artists, or is there a lot of back and forth, or are you kind of independent?
I'm pretty independent. It's rare that I actually even talk to creators along the way because they're so focused on their end. That's the beauty of stratifying the comic book process. Everybody kind of does their own thing, but every now and then, if I come across a problem while I'm lettering, like okay, panel was drawn too small, or they're asking for a very specific effect, I'll reach out and I'll try and get a hold of somebody and say, hey, this is what you're asking for. Did I hit the mark? Do I need to try again? And it's cool because there's a nice little back and forth to making sure it looks as good as possible. I've done that several times with James Roberts, and it's always fun. And say, hey, is this what you wanted here with these starry eyes kind of effect? And
then
that's
he gives you a
blast.
15-page bullet-pointed answer.
It's usually not that bad.
He's easy on you. I've seen some of the stuff he gave Alex back in the day.
I don't know about that. His regular edits though, oof, sometimes. It's a lot. It's fun though because it's always a challenge. It's like, okay, I've done it. Now I have to redo it.
I had it perfect. Oh, you wanted it in puce.
Oh, you're completely killing that balloon and adding 3 extra ones. Okay, I can do this.
Oh dear. But so you mentioned sound effects again. This is something I'm fascinated by. How do you come up with sound effects? How do you decide what is right? Because someone could say "bang" to me, and I get the idea. But some of your ones are basically just letters scrawled across a page, very attractively scrawled. But
that's just that's the fun part. Oh, go ahead. What's your question?
No, I don't get how you translate sounds into words like that. It goes over my head.
It's a little dorky, but I kind of say 'em as I'm working. So I'm like, okay, this thing's getting hit, but it's getting hit by I think in terms of like sharp sound, soft sound, scratchy sounds, I'm thinking, okay, what characters will evoke those? So like if something's getting scratched, that's like and I try and think like, okay, what letters would make that sound? So it's using more, so usually a lot of vowels in my sound effects because they're nice soft sound that can extend. Unless it's a really sharp sound like a tack or something, it's TAK, very simple. So it's just more of just playing with the sounds and probably sounding like a babbling idiot at my desk as I work.
The joy of working at home.
Yeah. Well, I work in the office at IDW, so fortunately everybody wears headphones, so I don't get to be too embarrassed.
I'm trying to picture that, or just someone standing over your desk and you didn't realize they were there.
Yeah.
But so what about? Oh god, what about the visual side of that? Because I find a lot of your sound effects they pop a lot, like especially in the fonts and stuff like that. How do you decide which ones are the best ones to do with it? Have you ever used Comic Sans?
I've used it ironically a few times, yes. Yeah, because if you're trying to that's a great point. Like if you're trying to make a sound effect that's intentionally cheesy, or someone saying something intentionally cheesy, there's nothing better than using Comic Sans. It's perfect. Yeah. Or but as for how I make them pop, I have we have a set of Comic Craft fonts and a few Plambot fonts that we use regularly, and it's just a matter of practice of getting to see like, okay, well, the core, like there's no serifs on this one, so it's got like a really bold feel to it, or this one's got a bunch of sharp edges, so that's for a really good sound of like metal on metal scratching, those kind of things. Or if something's really dense sounding, like a boom, like something falls or crushes something, you want it to be big, wide, dull looking, very. And and then from there I go to say, okay, well, should this be a full fill sound effect that covers up the art so it shows that it's popping forward, or should this be like a transparent outline only font that kind of lets you see the action? Is the action more important than the sound effect in this panel? And that's where I decide, like, okay, should I pop some of the artwork in front of the sound effect too and make it really stand out? Those kind of things just along the way are the fun creative part of my job.
Sounds like it's like I have to admit, when I first thought about lettering, it was kind of like, okay, you put the letters on the page.
Yeah.
Right? But then it's what goes on in your head must be fascinating at the time.
It's fun. I enjoy it. It's basically like a puzzle. You're building too. That's the fun part of graphic design. Everybody, a lot of people often think, oh, you just put the words in the balloons, right? It's like, well, there's rules to it. It's a lot more than that. And like I said, before, if you can tell bad lettering because it pops off the page and it's hard to read, and you're like, this is hideous. I don't like this, and it ruins the artwork and it doesn't tell the story. So like that's the goal, is like your lettering should just merge right into that artwork. And if there's a certain emotion that the writer has tried to convey for the scene, like a character is screaming in agony, that should, you should feel that in the lettering. The lettering should pop forward in that regard to say there's emotion happening in this panel. It's not just ouch.
Yeah.
There should be genuine emotion coming through. So that's what I strive for. That's the challenge I always try and set for myself.
In that case, I mean, is there any of your work that's really stuck with you? Like, I'm really proud I did that. That's one where I can look at that back and like big thumbs up to myself.
Oh yeah, I am most proud of my my Doctor Who Prisoners of Time lettering, because I'm a huge Doctor Who fan to begin with. But then I was able to letter all 11 Doctors at the time, all 12 issues of the series, and each one got a different tone to the way I was trying to letter it and pop forward. And then, you mentioned, I think, before we started, the Rage of the Dinobots, that just being able to play with sound effects and just not care about, like, oh, I'm going to make this as big as possible and go crazy. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. The visual side of that book is kind of nuts looking back on it now. Like, it's something else. But, yeah, so, like, you've done... I'm just trying to think, because you've done Transformers, you've done some Wildstorm books, you've done Doctor Who. You did Ghostbusters as well, I think.
I did, the Crossing Over, the one just came out, first one.
I'm just trying to, like, is there something I've noticed with especially Transformers is that creators in Transformers seem to approach things differently, whether it's the artist or the writer. There's something a little left field. Like, with the artist, you can always say, oh, a guy could draw great robots, but sometimes his humans don't stand up and everything else. Is lettering more universal?
I would say yes. Because the same rules apply in terms, since it's just rudimentary graphic design, everything has to read the same, and you might do different effects, like the sound effects in Transformers are it's a lot of metal on metal, a lot of explosions. When you're dealing with the effects of Ghost, it's a lot more soft and wispy, and with shots of terror coming at you. So yeah, you do approach the sound effects differently, but the flow of the lettering is more the same. That said, I do try and make my lettering fit the tone of the book. Like how can I explain this? If I'm lettering something that's a little more, that isn't sci-fi, that's more drama oriented, like some of the books we've lettered, they're not supernatural or superhero or anything. They're more, like autobiographical or something like that. I'll choose to use, like, say, upper and lowercase font rather than all uppercase, because that's the way we're used to reading, like a prose book. So you want to evoke that emotion of this is a story about, more real life as opposed to the fantastical. So yeah, like you can apply those design decisions before you start a book. That sets the tone for your lettering going forward.
So spinning off that, like we asked if there's anything you're particularly proud of, is there anything you're sort of, let's look at a different book now, please?
Oh gosh, yeah, that's a good question. Because I've certainly done some dogged stuff. Early on, I think there was one. This was when they were just figuring out how to do screen capture books from animated features and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think there was a DC book, was one of the first ones I freelanced for DC, and it was probably the last one. And it was a digest size, so it was smaller than average. And so I was trying to figure out, okay, well, I should approach this differently. I should do it more like, Saturday morning cartoon look, make the sound effects really warbly and funny looking, and not use outlines in that. And I played with the effects in Illustrator way too much, and then because it was printed digest size, what looked good on screen did not look good in print because it was too small, so it didn't read right. It just so that was a learning experience for me. It was like, I better always view things at 100% of print size before I send it in, because it might not work. It looked great, zoomed in 300%. But yeah, that was. So that one, I don't even remember what that was. It was one of the, I don't know if it was a Batman or a Superman book that they had screen captured off, and it was their standard format of 6 panels per page. And gosh, why are you making me remember that horrible experience?
Because if you ever get talking to anyone and my name pops up, I usually ask the questions that make people uncomfortable. I don't do it on purpose. I'm just a bad person. But sort of. You mentioned earlier on you did some art as well, and I was doing a little research. It said you are down as an artist for some things. Have you ever drawn for comics, or is it sort of like you're just a casual personal artist?
More casual personal artist. I'm just a fan of drawing, but I have colored, so I don't know if I got credit for that. I've done some digital inks along the way, and gosh, I can't remember. I don't think I've ever straight up illustrated. Oh, there was IDW Transformers Collection Phase 2, the back cover of Volume 2, the Bumblebee illustration. Yeah, that one is me. I did that. I created that.
I'm
yeah,
Googling that right now.
Yeah,
right.
I think that was my only credit where I did something on my own, not working off somebody else's pencils or inks.
To collection cover IDW.
Back cover.
Let's see what comes up. Because I don't have the hard covers because I am poor. But
they get so expensive.
Oh, yeah, it's one of those things. They're too expensive to buy in the day. Oh no, they're too expensive to buy after. Well, I didn't need to eat that week anyway.
You got to make the important choices.
Show me the back cover. They're all showing front covers. I know someone who has this. I'm going to get them to send me a picture of this because now I'm super curious. Because I've seen like a little cartoon head of yours that's going around, and I'm assuming you drew that. But
the one on Twitter is me. Yeah. I drew that.
So now I'm super curious how you do a Transformer. Hey, big shake-up's coming. You never know. They might say, Tom, come in, draw Dinobots Phase 14 or something.
Maybe.
If you do, more Velociraptors, please. Yeah, so actually that's an interesting thing. With the changes in IDW that's coming up, with the Transformers continuity coming to an end, or at least this version of it, are you involved in Unicron? And if you are, has that been fun? I'm not asking for any spoilers or anything, but I understand working with John when he's full blow and something else.
I am lettering it and doing the graphic design for it, so I've sort of seen what's coming. But the thing about being a letterer is you're not really part of the planning process, so it's more that, hey, letter this, and I'm off and running.
Yeah,
that's it. It's kind of cool because I'm just as surprised as everyone else. As I'm lettering, I get to enjoy the story as a surprise. No spoilers for me. It just comes in.
Yeah, that is one of the things. I know the artists get them so far ahead, and they get the scripts, and then they get the pictures, and then it must be very strange to come to the end of it and you're seeing the finished product that you knew about 6 months before or something like that. But I actually think that's a nice summary point for us, just ending on Unicron. I didn't want to keep you too long, and it's lovely and bright over there, it's getting progressively darker in here, and I'm having very quiet knocks on the door to go shh.
Okay then. Understood.
But is there anything you want to tell us that's upcoming that you might be working on, or apart from Unicron, obviously?
Well, if you want to ever check out some of my other work for non-IDW titles, I do letter for 68, which is a Vietnam era zombie comic.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. By Jay Fotis. It's out of Image. And then he's doing his own book now called Rising Rebels, which is kind of like an homage to 80s horror comics about zombies, which is pretty cool. So you can get it from him. And then some of the other things I've worked on, if you're big into literature, I've lettered most of the graphic novels for the Hatter M series from Frank Bador, which is really cool, which is his take on the Alice in Wonderland story.
Oh, wow.
So if you want, like I was saying about, books that don't fit the typical, superhero or, big robot genre, that's something else I've done, which I'm really proud of. That looks really great. So check out that.
I have a very bad habit of spending money on stuff creators have made after I've talked to them, so you've probably made some sales here. So
okay, great.
I'm very curious about those ones now. Because the last thing I read that wasn't superhero or sci-fi related was, I think, I borrowed someone's copy of From Hell, So it's been, and that was a good long while ago. So I could probably do it expanding my reading list a bit, or
Excellent.
having a reading list instead of just grabbing whatever is in front of me. Yeah. Do you want to shill any social media or anything like that?
I pretty much only use Twitter for hanging out. So if you ever want to see what I'm up to or say hi, just at Tomb Graphics, TOMBGRFX. You'll find me talking about what book I'm working on that day.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening. If you want to get interviews like this 1 week early, you can sign up to our Patreon. You'll also get our extended comic show, where at the moment we're doing an extra on Transformers vs. Visionaries, the only book in the universe where Tom B. Long doesn't have his fingers into. But you'll also get Moonbase Woo Woo, which is us talking about any topic we can think of, really, which can be sci-fi or anything else, and we get various people on. So, Tom, if you ever want to talk Doctor Who, let me know, and we can spend an hour of me going like, so I like 11, but I don't like 11 stories.
Yes, okay, I will definitely be back for that. Let's have a chat.
Anytime, dude. Just hit me up. And we will, behind the scenes, the scheduling for this one, guys. Oh my god. You're not going to see the video of this, but the expression I'm making should sum it up. It was yeah, like real life happened to me, and I tried to set stuff up at a bad time, but but good real life before anyone else. Good stuff was happening. It was just busy. But yeah, so check us out there. You can email us on themoonbase2@gmail.com. You can contact us on Twitter for at themoonbase2. Our anniversary show is coming up, the 10 years of the Moonbase 2. Holy crap. So keep an eye out for that. I don't know if it'll be any good, but it should be at least fun for me. Yeah, so Tom, thank you so much. Really, like, seriously, I'm so glad to know you're just a lovely person. And it's just
thanks for having me.
Lovely talking to you.
Yeah,
guys,
you too.
Yeah, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You are now leaving